game, Adam Silver. Amazing that this could persist and continue to happen on your watch. I tell you what, if you were betting the game and you had Indiana on the money line last night, you definitely feel like it was perfectly appropriate to say, we was robbed. We was robbed. We don't know that they would have won the game, but the officiating certainly didn't favor the Indiana Pacers at Madison Square Garden against the Knicks last night. Now, if you weren't betting the game, the place to do it would have been Bet Online. It's your number one source. They couldn't do anything about the referees, Bet Online. But it's your number one source for all your summer sports this season, from MLB, golf, NBA, and NHL playoff stats. You should have taken us up on our suggestion. Marlins under. Fire sale in May. That's a good indicator that you're going to cash that one. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. You get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on all the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. But where do we start with this dissertation, Lubie? We used to like Adam Silver when he came on the scene. David Stern had become a little bit insufferable, had he not? Seemed to be getting into that sanctimonious mode where he was a little bit holier than thou, seemed a little embittered. He was fining Mark Cuban $250,000 every day. If Mark Cuban had the hiccups, he said, that's it, $250,000. You're out of here, Cuban. Seemed to be getting a little bit tired of being the commissioner of the NBA. He hands the ball over to Adam Silver, who had been under his wing for a long period of time. And what happens right away? Adam Silver gets immersed in this controversy with Donald Sterling and the LA Clippers. He's on the phone with V. Stiviano. Hey, V, did he really say that about black people? That he doesn't want them at the game? And she says, well, he didn't say exactly that. I don't know. He said this, he said that. And I said, yeah, sure. So Silver swings into action. He's not going to tolerate any of this nonsense. This owner has been in the league for 35 years, but all of a sudden they woke up to the fact that he was a racist pig, a slumlord. He was the exact opposite of everything that they're trying to portray the league to be in terms of its relation to the human race. And sure enough, Silver comes in there. You know what really sparked that, Lubie? As soon as he saw them putting tarps over the advertising signs at the Clippers arena, all of a sudden Adam makes a call and says, you know what? We got to get this guy out of here. So they get him $2.4 billion for his departure. Nice little sign-off check. And everybody's thinking that Adam Silver really has this whole thing under control. Well, what a refreshing change from the bitter David Stern. Then, as things progress, no problem. That the Chinese, okay, so they got some people working a little bit cheap on an hourly wage. They're making all of our sneakers. We don't want to say anything about any of the issues that are going on over there. Free pass. And now this business of trying to make the Knicks the world champion. What happened here, Lubie? Under what auspices is Adam Silver authorizing these officials? We'll name them here. Zach Zarba, Sean Wright, and Tyler Ford. They may as well have been Chuck Giampa, Jerry Roth, and maybe Tyler Ford is a distant relative of Dwayne Ford, the three blind judges that were in Las Vegas for all of those years when they were giving decisions to Money Mayweather, no matter what he did. He didn't throw a punch in any of the 12 rounds. That's okay. Unanimous decision. It's going to be all right. Don King is cashing a check, handing suitcases of cash under the ring to the various officials. Referees in boxing have been crooked. In fact, you would think, are they taking the playbook of the World Boxing Council to establish the level of authority of the people that are running the National Basketball Association? What did you think? Was that the worst moving screen call that you have seen in your lifetime? 12 seconds to go in a game. The guy's 35 feet from the basket. And Miles Turner barely rubs DiVincenzo, one of the Villanova guys who has been really emerging at key times in this series and in the previous one against Philadelphia, which we didn't even mention here, Lubie. They handed them the Philadelphia series. Yes. And now we witness this atrocity in game one. I mean, have you ever seen worse, most biased officiating? You were pointing this out early when the free throw discrepancy was Knicks 15 times to the stripe, Indiana 3. As if they never got anywhere near the basket and nobody had touched them the entire game. Pretty incredible. I don't know. It became almost intolerable to watch this robbery take place right in front of you. It was almost like watching a movie, and you were thinking, wow, I hope the crooks get away with this one. But in this case, I think Indiana really got jobbed. But wild discrepancies in the officiating. Jalen Brunson, who's been terrific. There's no doubt about it. The guy's been sensational. 4 straight games with 40-plus points. weren't expecting this out of Jalen Brunson. You figured if he averaged somewhere around 20 points a game, dished off a bunch of assists, and kept the Knicks offense somewhat organized, that he would have been a great asset, and that would have been considered a tremendous acquisition by the New York Knicks. But here he is, scoring 40 a game. Holy Bernard King. I mean, the best scoring output that we've seen in the postseason. Every day he sets some new kind of Knick franchise record, which is saying a lot because they have had great players there, even though over the last half a century, they really haven't had great teams. And you don't think, Lubie, that they really have that good of a team right now. But this assist from the officials may at least find them in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals, possibly against the Boston Celtics. We'll find out more about that as the Celtics battle the Cavaliers, who don't appear to have the goods to beat the Celtics in this series. But your thoughts on the officiating in last night's game? I thought it was pretty much on the level. I don't know about you, Lubie. Adam Silver, no shame, Adam Silver. No shame. What'd you think?
I felt like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's league mandate, conspiracy. I don't know. I just know that it's been very Knick leaning. First of all, early on, both teams shoot a lot of threes. The Knicks live in the mid-range a lot more than the Pacers do. The Pacers actually were trying to get to the basket a lot. And after it was like the first quarter, and I'm like, the Knicks are going to the free throw line a lot, and they haven't gone to the basket at all. So I'm like, let me look, and it was 15-3. I'm like, oh, okay, that's about right. And that it sort of was a tone the whole night. I mean, the Knicks, if you play any defense against Jalen Brunson, like the epitome is that one play where the Pacers had to review it, and it was like you can see that nothing happened. Halliburton touched the ball cleanly.
Yes.
There's nowhere near him. No one's near Brunson. And it's this innate sense of, oh, let me fall. It was like, why? Why were you falling? No one's near you. No one touched you.
He looks like Greg Louganis out there. It's amazing. You're waiting for him to do the swan off the Acapulco Cliffs.
That was bad. The kick ball where there's no feet. The ball was thrown in the air, hit in the air.
Yes.
And the replay shows that Nemhard or I think it was Nesmith, puts his hand out. It bounces off his hand cleanly, goes right to the Pacers. This is a tie game with like 20-something seconds left. They would have had an easy layup to go up
52 seconds to go in the game.
Was it 50 when the kick?
Yeah. The other one happened with 12 seconds to go. So that they just continued to punch them right in the kidneys. It was amazing. Can't review the kickball call.
Can't review the kickball, which I
yes.
They were reviewing everything. I'm like, why can't you review a kickball?
They're reviewing whether or not Spike Lee had a beer at halftime, and they can't review a key play in an important game because, as we say, and you'll find this to be true, people, all games are pivotal in the postseason.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Game one, in my opinion, is pivotal. You lose game one, I don't know. Do you shrug your shoulders? No, because look what happened with the Denver Nuggets. They lose game one, and maybe they say, well, we didn't really have it together. We were off a layoff. But sure enough, they lose game two, and now all of a sudden it gets serious.
Yeah,
but that was atrocious. That Turner screenplay with DiVincenzo, brutal.
Look, I in my head I was like, don't set a screen. I wouldn't even give the refs a chance to give them that call. Like,
who's he screening for though? The guy's barely at the half court stripe. I don't know that this was important, so critical that little bit of motion that he had as he was sliding over where it was going to impact the outcome of the game, and you're going to make that call and blow the whistle there? Well, like a New York traffic cop in the midst of a crash wouldn't have blown a whistle.
Yes.
And yet that kind of contact was worthy of a key whistle and a turnover late in a ball game with 12 seconds to go, a chance to tie the game. You have to let that team have a chance to fire up a shot.
I don't think that was the time. I don't think they called that at any point in the game. They set screens all game.
Yes.
That aren't perfect setting. Like, as long as you don't bump the dude, as long as you don't throw an elbow, as long as you don't throw a hip, as long as you're not just walking like you're an offensive lineman, they let you get away with any kind of screen. At that point of the game, like he got there first. So that's the key part. And then he stood and he didn't lean and he didn't move. If he wasn't setting, this isn't a charge block situation. Like, they don't.
No, it was a meaningless pick miles from the basket.
I never call that. And the minute he said, I'm like, oh no, I knew it because you could see the refs all game trying to do everything they could to give the Knicks every little help. And right when he said it, I'm like, oh, and it's DiVincenzo. Like, Jay Wright must have had this great class of flopping because Hart, DiVincenzo, and Brunson have made a fucking career of it.
Yes.
DiVincenzo runs into
Jay Wright should be banned from every arena where the Knicks are playing. He shouldn't even be allowed to be present there. Unbelievable the way these guys are performing so far. Bad. Talk about taking a dive, my God. Holy raging bull. Well, what are we looking at here? It was an interesting game in a lot of different ways also, except for the fact that you were screaming at the television set the entire time if you were watching on TV. If you were at Madison Square Garden, and you would imagine that you were pretty euphoric about the idea that you had the sixth man wearing the zebra stripes of the officials. They don't actually wear stripes in the NBA, but they should be wearing stripes pretty soon, joining the Trumpster over there at Rikers Island if he keeps opening up a big mouth. Unbelievable. Obi Toppin going through the legs on a dunk after he had dunked two previous possessions. That was a lot of fun to watch. Of course, Obi Toppin was a first-round draft pick of the New York Knicks. It seemed to have some potential there. They decided to pull the trigger on a trade that turned out to be fortunate for both teams, I guess. And so the Indiana Pacers were enjoying a little bit of a spark there from the former Knick for a period of time. And it looked like they might pull away and win this game. I gave the Pacers a half a chance in the series. They showed a little bit of immaturity, being a young team down the stretch in critical situations. And then you have to give Brunson credit. As much as he was getting favorable outlooks from the referees the entire game, including a 12-step walk that wasn't called. Is that the 12-step program or is that a travel? The Eurostep, once again, like we said, I mean, you could cross Denmark with the Eurostep and not get whistled for a traveling violation. But that notwithstanding, the game itself was wildly entertaining. I mean, it was a bloodbath back and forth, and you had many lead changes. I think Indiana led by 9 at one point, or maybe 10, and the Knicks also had a 10-point lead that dissipated. It came down to the wire, and the officials. How can you job a team on consecutive possessions inside the final minute and actually leave the arena with your head held high? Fortunately, that was in New York. If that happens in Indiana, Rick Smits is outside. He just slugs one of these guys as they're leaving the arena. But no shame. Adam Silver needs to say something about this. You can't keep getting those 2-minute report cards and have the officials say, yeah, well, we really fucking blew it. And just go, c'est la vie. That's the way it goes. You're in bed with these people that are betting billions of dollars they're handling in bets. And you're going to let this go on and have officials that look like they're more in bed with the mob than Tim Donaghy. It's just unbelievable. Other game was kind of an eye-opener, wasn't it? A 26-point victory by the Minnesota Timberwolves. Timberwolves defense, people have been talking about it. They didn't even have Rudy Gobert, their best defensive player. And I don't know if he won Defensive Player of the Year this year, but he's always a candidate. I want to say no to that. I think somebody else got it.
Yeah, they've done – it's Wembanyama, Bam, and Gobert that are the finalists. I haven't seen them actually give out the award.
Okay, maybe it hasn't been announced. I mean, certainly Gobert has to be considered. Yeah, and, he's been dynamite and an essential key to their defense, and yet they were swarming all over the Denver Nuggets. I mean, they really bring it to the table. And it's Anthony Edwards. You were right, Lubie. You hit it on the head. He's one of these guys that is a marquee offensive player, and at the same time, plays a little D.
He takes defense very.
He attacks it at the defensive end. I don't know how long he's going to be able to sustain this. He's 27 years old, but man, is he 27? I don't even know if he's that old.
Oh, he's 22.
23, something like that. Wow.
Sean Devaney said 23. I think he's 22.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards. Wow, what a monster though.
That long.
The announcers were just commenting on the fact that he only had like 5 points midway through the second quarter after busting it the night before the previous ball game. I guess it was a couple of nights prior. And then he goes on a run, an explosive run with a display and a variety of versatility and shot-making ability and shot creation ability. And the Minnesota Timberwolves just ended up burying the Denver Nuggets. So 2 in a row on the road in Denver, almost impossible. We were suggesting that the Nuggets looked a little bit lethargic by comparison to the standard that we saw from them last year when they were pressed, even though they beat the Lakers in 5 games. They were pressed in that series. Didn't quite look the same, did they, Lubie? I'm not saying this now that they're down 0-2. We were talking about this prior to the series also. And Minnesota, you're always waiting to see if one of these teams that's on the rise can actually prove that they're ready to compete at that level. And it certainly looks like the Timberwolves are. So, wow. If you have the Timberwolves to win the NBA championship, do you not feel a lot better about your position now than you did maybe 4 or 5 days ago? Pretty incredible run. Had a hockey game in town last night. It was a big one. The Bruins and the Panthers. Second round series in the chase for the Stanley Cup in the Eastern Conference. 2 powerhouse teams. I think the Panthers had 110 points this year. The Bruins had 109. Fairly even game all the way through. In fact, it was exactly even about midway through the second period. We got 2 big fat round numbers on the board, 0-0. Then the Panthers get a goal on a Bruins turnover, but immediately thereafter, the Bruins turned it around. And you were commenting that, You said Bobrovsky looked like a beached whale in there from the midpoint of the second period on?
He was great for a period and a half. Oof.
You were waiting for the Florida wildlife people to show up and to just remove him from the pipes? Because he went blind again for a brief span as Boston piled up 3 quick goals. And that was essentially it. They ended up winning the game 5-1, completing it with a very nicely executed empty netter at the end of the game. But the Panthers, in desperation, down 4-1, had to pull Bobrovsky at the 5-minute mark. I think it was 5 and change of the third period. So you're thinking that desperation is often the mother of invention, but not in this case. It was the mother of devastation as the Panthers lost. So you had definitely an interesting start to the series, because people always question whether it's better to be rusty by being rested or to be tired out from being in action. And the Bruins were coming off just a bloodbath of a series against the Toronto Maple Leafs, not a particularly high-scoring series, and they post 5 on the board last night. Any kind of a sign that there's trouble in paradise here, as we call South Florida, Lubie?
I don't like getting down, especially at home. But again, it's hockey. Like, the Panthers play well on the road or at home. It's whatever. It's just annoying that they actually played pretty well for a period and a half, and they couldn't get anything in the net. And their defense was sort of slack, but Bobrovsky was picking them up. But that's usually the thing that scares me. It's like, if Bobrovsky's going to give up 2 stupid goals. That's just what he – like the one goal where he had the angle, there was nowhere for the guy to get the puck in, and he, like, ducks just enough to give him a crease. It was like, what are you doing? Like, it's like he does that. And then the one where he –
was that pre-designed, though, by the Boston Bruins to shoot high on Bobrovsky?
I don't know, but I know that he found the one crease.
They had a couple of goals like that.
I stopped watching.
Yeah.
And then the other one was great, where Ekblad, instead of moving the guy off of him, helps him block Bobrovsky, and Bobrovsky has no idea where the puck's coming from. They all just stand there. Like,
it was not pretty from the midway point of the second period on.
What are you guys doing?
And the Panthers started out like they were going to be on fire during the night. They held the puck for like the first 5 minutes of the game, and you thought, my God, this is a mismatch here. And sure enough, the Bruins managed to rally, and I don't know, you could say that they stole one, but they reversed the home ice advantage. They had beaten the crap out of the Panthers during the regular season. They were 4-0 against the Panthers after losing that first-round series infamously last year when they were the number 1 seed, and the Panthers came in at number 8, staggered into the postseason, and managed to roll their way into the Stanley Cup Finals. A lot more action on tap tonight. And we got to get your quick betting opinion on a couple of games here, and then we'll get out of here with today's edition of the morning briefing, because Adam Silver has no shame whatsoever. All right, Celtics begin against the Cavs tonight. They're laying 11 and a hook. Would you lay 11 and a hook with the Celtics against the Cavaliers, a team that just won a 7-game series in life and death fashion against the Orlando Magic?
The Cavs scare me because I like their talent. I don't like their youth. But they do this thing with the Celtics where they overrate the crap out of them. I mean, I think the Celtics win that series in 5 or 6.
You think Whitey Bulger was making this line or something?
11 points is a lot. Like, I would take Cavs with, 11. They may cover that, but that's a lot in the playoff.
Double digits. I'm usually inclined to take double digits in a postseason game, especially a second-round postseason game. Can the Cavaliers hang in there? That's a good question. So you're laying 11 and a half there. You're taking the Cavs. Thunder laying 3 and a hook at home against the Mavericks. Yep. Oklahoma City Thunder. Are they ready for the big tent, my friend? Are they ready for prime time?
The Wolves are doing, and the Mavs are not the Nuggets. And they dispatched the Pelicans pretty well without Zion. I think they're going to take this series very seriously, because it feels like they're going to have a fucking war next round. And look, the Mavs, they don't play great. You're counting on Luke and Kyrie. So you're not playing great defense. I don't know. That's a decent enough number. I would go Thunder.
All right. I got a couple of hockey games. Also, second-round games, Hurricanes and the Rangers. That's game 2. Rangers won game 1. It wasn't easy, but they did it. And the Stars against the Avalanche. That begins that series. Colorado on the road against Dallas, who was all out to beat. But came back from 0-2 after losing the first 2 on home ice advantage against the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the defending Stanley Cup champions. At the heart and the head of every organization, Lubie, every criminal organization, is a man without a conscience. Is that the way we're going to have to remember Adam Silver and his tenure as the NBA commissioner? Holy El Chapo, what are we talking about? You have to have some kind of conscience.
Weird. The ball was being thrown in as the foul was committed. So is that really a technical?
This is worse than anything the Patriots conjured up with all of their variety of cheating
It was bad
incidents that
last
they
year.
were guilty of during the course of their big 20-year run at the top of the National Football League. All right, we have to get out of here. Good luck, everybody, with your wagers. And don't forget, Bet Online, the place to go. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Happy to have you with us for today's edition of the Morning Briefing.